Welcome back to another episode of the KarterKast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. Football season, we're back. August 4th, we're recording Sunday afternoon right now. ACC preview today. Before we get into today's podcast, we're brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterKast. $50 minimum purchase required. $20 off at SeatGeek. Download the app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterKast. Today, Dylan.
Oh, can I say something about SeatGeek?
As always.
Just got back from a trip from Houston. Used SeatGeek to get tickets to a Houston Astros game. Beautiful experience. Dome was closed. One gripe. This is not SeatGeek's fault. Lots of homeless outside the stadium. So much homeless. I was kind of scared.
A lot of homeless.
Abby and I were kind of scared to walk outside when it was dark.
All right.
But there were police officers, so kind of, tomato, tomato. PEMDAS, it cancels out.
And Houston is in a red state, if I believe.
Blue City.
Blue City.
Now we're getting deep in the weeds.
Can I throw something else in there too? Gas prices started with a 2. Just saying.
Ooh. There we go.
Yeah,
I love it.
See that.
All right, ACC preview. We're back. It's football season. Drafts, though, maybe a couple drafts here and there thrown in there. We'll see. But it's football season. ACC preview. We're starting off with the best conference in football, maybe the most storied conference in football. Just kidding. This conference stinks. This is all right. Let's talk about the conference as a whole. I don't even know. I feel like this is how the ACC is every year. Like it used to be Clemson, a lot of average for like 10 teams, and then poop at the bottom. Just pure poop. That's the best way to put it. I feel like it's just like 7 above average teams, 2 average, and then poop. Is that fair?
I feel like there's a little more parity. A little more parity this year as far as like Clemson's not, going to win 11 games and make the national title game every year like they did 5 years ago. But there's more teams in the ACC this year that I could really see making that run towards 9 or 10 games. There's a lot more parity.
That's what I'm saying. I think there's more above average teams than normal, but there's also not that elite top dog. I don't see any of these teams as a national title contender. Am I wrong, Ben?
Yeah. No, you're definitely not wrong. But as we've been saying, I think the way that I would characterize it is like for the first time in a few years, I'm like, okay, this is the most amount of bowl teams. Yes. I think that we're getting from
also
the
most
ACC.
amount of teams in the ACC.
I was gonna say +3 this year.
Well, yeah. But like, even if you, we'll scratch that part of it. We don't have to remind the people, but
to be fair,
no, I think a lot of 6 to 8 win like caliber teams, whether they reach that or not, maybe because it's a bigger conference. They're beating up on each other. Maybe a couple of these miss the mark, but a lot of like decent teams you don't want to play.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't want to throw us off the trail here, but I'm looking at the ACC list. Realistically, how many teams are in this conference that you think could win it? I think I'm looking at the list. I see six teams that could realistically win the ACC.
I would say 5. I would say 5.
Okay,
and that's pretty.
We're
good,
on the same ballpark.
It's like 1 or 2. Usually it's like 1 or 2. Which is like, gladly
Clemson
it's not
or Florida
Clemson anymore. Dabo fell off. Yeah.
Is Carolina in that group? We'll get to there. We'll get
UNC also, yeah.
We'll get there in a minute. Let's talk about the top dogs of the conference. Right now, Florida State's the favorite right now on FanDuel. I believe last time I checked, it was +270 for them to win the conference. Florida State coming into this season, obviously they come in right now. They have a huge chip on their shoulder coming in after they got snubbed from the college football playoff, whether it was right or wrong. Who cares? We're in the new season. I don't know how I feel about Florida State. I feel about the same around the team. Obviously, the defense is still great. A lot of the players are still great. All around, I feel like they're probably the best team. But why are we all talking ourselves into DJU being a great quarterback all of a sudden? Why am I seeing all these, ACC quarterback rankings and stuff like this where DJU is a top 5, top 2, top 3 quarterback and he's going to figure it out. He was solid at Oregon State last year. Oregon State last year won 8-9 games. They're going to be good. They were fine with him. Like, he did a really good job last year. That just proves to me that none of these media members, none of these people watched Oregon State football last year. I'm on the West Coast. I get to watch Oregon State football. I can stay up and watch them. He was the problem. If they had an above average quarterback at Oregon State last year, they're in the Pac-12 title game. I just don't understand why we are doing this thing on DJU where he's all of a sudden this rock solid quarterback. Am I wrong, Dylan?
So yeah, it's interesting. I kind of wrestled with this. Obviously, they had Jordan Travis last year.
And
great
I
ball
think
player.
He was underrated. Like, I feel like he was a really good quarterback.
Underrated. He was in the Heisman talks before he got injured. So I don't know about underrated.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't. With him, they had that unbelievable season. I don't think DJU can even get close to what he did last year.
I will agree with you. DJU and the Oregon State offense, they ran the ball very well. And like when you look at PFF and you look at their offensive rating, it was high, but most of that was weighted toward the rush game. I will say Oregon State's offensive line was not great last year, and DJU's coming into a situation with a team that has a well-constructed offensive line. I believe a top 10 or 15 pass block rating, and a lot of that is either coming back or they replenished it in the transfer portal. So that I'm not super high on DJU, but I do think his situation at Florida State will be better than what it was at Oregon State.
But what about at Clemson?
He was young.
Yeah, he was young.
But that's the argument. Like, he played multiple years there. It's the easiest setup in the ACC typically. No, I think
the argument, if you're like a DJU apologist, the arguments that over at Clemson, it was an outdated offense. They've since fired the offensive coordinator, that he was in a bad situation, and that even since he's left, it's not like the Clemson offense was, where we've seen it be in the past. And along with like the DJU, and like, I think there is I want this studied scientifically. I think there's like a college football fan desire to believe in a former 5-star. It's like Spencer Rattler's gone now. So like, who's our next Spencer Rattler that he's like a 5th year, 2nd or 3rd school? We're like, no, I like this guy. I think DJU's kind of like fit into that category of like, there's talent there, supposedly. Like
Max Johnson.
Yeah,
Max Johnson to Carolina. I'll talk myself into him all day, guys.
Nobody's actually, but like Tyler Van Dyke's the example, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's a great, like everyone has, at some point people have always bought in the Tyler Van Dyke's stock every season. And you're like, okay, at some point it's just not going to happen. At some point it's not going to happen with DJU. And if it ever was, I guess it would be at Florida State. But I feel like we've seen enough evidence where I don't know why I should believe in him. But I mean, the Florida State team around him is pretty good. But
I think that's what I was going to say. Is the question is, if he's just not making like back-breaking mistakes, will it matter? I think that's the question.
But the problem go ahead, Connor.
What's the stock in we putting in? Like, Oregon State is for sure finishing top 2 in the Pac-12 this year without him. So, what kind of stock are we putting in that?
What's the value?
On a real note, we always talk about dog factor on this show, stuff like that. Is there any type of like mentality piece to this DJU thing where it's like, Florida State got snubbed last year, they're pissed, they're coming for revenge, DJU's in his 3rd school, it's his last chance to make a mark on college football? Like, is there some kind of like synchronization to where it just all works out and it actually works? Because I'm in the boat right now where I'm not a huge believer in him. I'm really not. But I feel like there is a scenario where that ceiling is a lot higher than what a lot of people give him credit for.
We could also, I hear what you're saying, Karter, but we could go quarterback to quarterback. I mean, we could pick Bo Nix. He, average at Auburn, goes to Oregon. He's great. We could pick Penix. He was actually decent at Indiana, but then
the
goes to
the third time.
Yeah,
I think that's
fair.
But also, I think the difference with the Bo Nix one is he went from SEC to Pac-12 with a lot, like you mentioned, a lot of the times easier defenses, and we've seen DJU play at the premier program in the ACC and struggle. Like, this isn't new. We've seen this before, and I don't know why. And I feel like he just didn't improve over his 4 years in college football so far. I haven't seen it, but unless you guys have, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And I don't know, with Florida State, I'm not picking them to win the conference, but I don't think they're going to have some kind of like fall off in the dirt kind of year. I think they're going to be a very respectable team in the ACC and win 9 games. But
I'm not sitting there saying they're going to go 7-5, 6-6, okay. But spoiler alert, I don't see them winning this conference.
I don't hate that take. They're the favorite. Florida State has such a good system that they can like DJU is coming into a great situation here at Florida State. But I agree with you guys. They're the favorite to win the conference, and I don't see that.
Is there any? You guys talked about Florida State situationally here, and like this is one of the best situations he's been in. Is there any praise like the offensive line? Five of the top 8 offensive linemen from last year. They're pretty consistent. They're returning this year.
Yeah.
Left tackle, best left tackle in the ACC that I was looking up when I was researching earlier. I think he's going to have a lot of time in the pocket is the thing. I think it's like if he does crumble this year, there's no more excuses. It's more so on him as a player, an indictment on him as a quarterback, rather than, oh, he was young, bad system, not a lot of weapons around him, bad offensive line. All that's taken care of. So this is the year for him to make or break. I don't think any blame can go anywhere else if they crumble.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. Let's move on. Let's talk about another team. The other team that's in the top favorites right now, Miami. Miami, I mean, they are the sexy team when you look on paper. You look at them, you're like, oh, they got Damian Martinez from Oregon State, Cam Ward from Washington State, return a lot of guys. I don't know how to feel about Miami. Dylan, I'll start with you.
I love Miami. I don't know why. It's just we're back. The U, baby. The U. And it's like Tyler Van Dyke was bad. We talked about him a little bit.
Go ahead.
Well, 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The offense last year was good. They gained a lot of yards. I think they were maybe first or second in the ACC. But Van Dyke was not the guy. And now they get Cam Ward coming in from Washington State. And if you watch this guy play football, I mean, we talk about the defenses. I understand he was playing in the Pac-12. He was playing against teams that don't have great defenses. But you can kind of say the same about the ACC. Cam Ward coming into Miami, I think that this totally opens up the offense. I'm very high on Miami, very high on Cam Ward. I told Ohio State fans, you want Cam Ward. You don't want this Will guy. You want Cam Ward, and he went to Miami.
Dylan, I 100% agree with you. What I don't understand about the Ohio State thing, and that can be talked about in the Big Ten episode, where, okay, you go after Will Howard, like you have a $30 million NIL roster. How could you not fork up a few more million for Cam Ward? This is the best transfer quarterback out there. It made no sense, but the difference between people are like, oh, Tyler Van Dyke, okay, you're going to buy into the Miami hype once again. Yes, because we've seen Cam Ward. We didn't see Tyler Van Dyke. We saw what Cam Ward can be, and now he's going to have way more talent around him under a proven head coach who won a lot of games at Oregon. Of course, I'm going to buy the hype. I'm all in on Miami. The defense, there could be a concern there. There's a couple stud guys, but gave up some points last year. I'm
good rush defense, though. The Miami can stop the run. They have trouble against the pass. I think the U is back. I also want to shout out, I don't know what methods we use to study up on these teams. Action Network's TARP. It's like transfer and returning production. Miami's one of the best in the ACC in terms of that metric. And also, shout out my boy Adam Stanko. I'm not brown-nosing here. Shout out Adam Stanko, 24/7 Sports, transfer portal stuff. The great ways to research this stuff. But yeah, Miami. Yeah. I'm all in on Miami.
Connor.
This scares me because I came into this. Miami's my pick to win the conference. It is.
Oh,
Miami,
yes.
Everything. And this is a completely independent opinion. We didn't talk about this before the show.
Yep.
I'm looking at Cam Ward's numbers. You look at Washington State last year, 113th in the country with 38 sacks allowed. That's over 3 per game. He was sacked at least 3 times in all but 3 games. No protection, running for his life out there. Miami, meanwhile, last year, their offensive line, a lot of returning production there, tied for 17th best sack rate in the country last year. Miami was. I think Cam Ward's going to have all the time in the world, all the space in the world, the weapons on the outside. Like you guys said, Damian Martinez from Oregon State, stud running back coming in, I think can really space the field for them and be one of those weapons on the outside. I love Miami this year. I can't believe it. They've been so disappointing since I watched that 30 for 30, and it's been like downhill since it was the U or whatever. I think they're back. As much as I don't like Miami, I think the U's back this year. That's my pick.
Ben, I don't want to cut you off here, but can I get the boys excited about something?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
What's that?
Are we in on Cam Ward 20-1 to win the Heisman?
Oh, God.
Are we in? I think we got to be in. Just something to think about. Something to think about.
Yeah, that's in the tickler file. That's in the pizza
net file.
Ben, how we feel about Miami?
Can I be a wet blanket here?
Oh boy. Ben, no.
Just a little bit. I just want to remind the KarterKast that we're talking about Miami.
Yeah.
Fair.
That always scares me. Where I agree, all the things on paper, the talent they have, the returning production, I love Cam Ward. I loved Cam Ward at Washington State. it's hard because Miami, like, I think the players and the staff definitely do carry a bit of the burden of being Miami. Like, I think that does exist over time, but it's hard because I think this is like a make or break year for Mario Cristobal. Yep. And I think that if the U is going to be back, it has to be now.
And not even just now, it has to be week 1. I think that week 1 game against Florida sets the tone for the season going forward. That's one. We have a lot of those big momentum games, Clemson, Georgia, and then Miami, Florida. Mm-hmm. Those are pivotal games, and all 4 of those team seasons where that really, really, really determines what kind of direction. Now, it's different because now a 1, 2, maybe even 3-loss team can get into the playoffs, so it doesn't end your season totally. But that momentum from that win going forward, especially for a team like Miami, winning against Florida would be so big going forward.
Am I crazy? If they beat Florida, they might only lose 1 game. Is that ridiculous? If they beat Florida in the opener, Florida State is the only team on that schedule.
Florida's not a great team either. Like,
exactly. So I'm saying Florida State might be the only crazy tough game for them. Maybe they drop a stupid one to like Louisville or something crazy to Duke, but their win total's 9.5 at plus like 130. How is that not going to hit? How does that not hit though?
Yeah, how does that not hit though? The famous last words. Dylan.
I'm looking at the schedule here, and you've got an interesting point about that Florida State game. I mean, I think that they could beat Florida State, and you have Florida State coming off an away game at Duke. I understand Duke, at least I don't think they're going to be that great this year. But then you got Miami right before that's coming off of an away game in Louisville, who I think is going to be even worse. That's keep your eye on that game because there's a very good chance Miami.
The only problem would be like Miami might be like 7-0 going into that game. This is a classic like, oh, we're feeling ourselves, we're 7-0, and then go in and just drop a stinker to Florida State. But then again, that's only 1 loss. So
let me paint you a picture though. Let me paint you a picture real quick. Let's say they beat Florida, they go in, they're 4-0 going into week 5. Friday night against Virginia Tech. It's in Miami, so that's a big win for them. Well, that's a great game. There's a lot of hype behind that. And that's a Friday night kickoff game. That's a tough one I could see Miami dropping. The only other one I could really see them dropping at Cal, like a stupid like noon kickoff at Cal for some reason, or at Georgia Tech. Like there's one silly loss in there, 100%. But if I say the words, the Miami Hurricanes can go undefeated, what do you say, Dylan?
Yeah, 100%.
I agree. I don't think that's
not crazy
statement.
No, they're going to be, I truly, they are going to be a very good team this year. I was doing my little notes. I was like, oh, my eyes got big, just like this.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Ben, if I say that, what's your response?
My response is I can see it, but like, watch out. Watch out. It's just dangerous. It's just one of those things where I feel like I've heard this before. I'm not saying I'm disagreeing. Like I also look at the same things that you guys look at, and I agree. I see the schedule, like especially going Miami, having this opener in the swamp. Like I like them to win that game.
All right, let me see if I can spin zone this and use some psychology to get Ben into Miami.
Okay.
I know why you feel that way about Miami, because you hear the word Miami, you hear the U is back every single year, blah 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 blah. We hear the same thing about Texas too, and Texas went to the college football playoff last year. But I think the best way to convince Ben on this one is every single year of your childhood, you heard Virginia basketball, the way they play, that will never win an NCAA tournament. It'll never win until they did. There you go. I know you're
sometime.
Okay. Just asking for no particular reason. What were the Cam Ward Heisman odds again?
20-1.
20-1.
Just wondering. Okay. No reason that I'm asking that.
The fact that that's even in the realm of possibility is a huge win for Miami, though. Like the fact that I'm sitting here considering that they might go undefeated in a college football season is shocking. I think they 100% lose one to one of the Florida teams, whether it's the Seminoles or the Gators. But 10-11 wins, that's right on par where I have Miami this year.
220 to make the playoffs, 60-1 to win it all. 60 to 1. 60. That's 6-0, not 1-6.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I don't know if they're beating Georgia.
Miami, listen to this. Miami's 2-1 plus 200 to just make the ACC title game. Plus 200.
Yeah, kind of.
They're a top 2 team in the
pretty
conference,
good.
right? They're a top 2 team in the conference. Yeah, come on.
Do we want to roll through some teams more, or do we want to get in some underrated, overrated?
Can we do Clemson first?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
I want to do
let's
Clemson.
Let's talk about
I think
Clemson.
then we can roll into we
Okay.
got to talk about like the big 3 because I think there's a separation.
All right, that works.
After
Connor,
these,
start us off with
so.
Clemson.
Clemson. Spoiler alert. This is my overrated team for the ACC. Clemson Tigers, right here. This is the overrated team. 9-4 last year. I feel like 9-4 last year. Program's taken a few steps back the last few years. I feel like they hit that mountaintop peak where it was like college playoff contender every year. Deshaun Watson, all these different players, coming from Clemson. All of a sudden, I think they're overrated this year. Offense, 20 or fewer points 5 times last year. Klubnik's fine, but they were dead last in yards per completion. It was dink and dunk, all of this. Now, all of a sudden, Will Shipley's gone. Phil Moffitt's fine. He's a power back, 240-pound guy. Offensive line's not great. They are not great at clearing space inside. All of a sudden, Moffitt is a ground and pound running up the middle. He's not bouncing one out to the outside. So what are they going to do on offense? I don't understand what they're going to do on offense. Shipley's gone. They need a breakout wide receiver or this offense is cooked. I really do believe that. And on top of that, all 4 starters on the defensive line, gone. Jeremiah Trotter at linebacker, gone. This Clemson defense, 8th in the nation last year, 1st in the ACC with only 288 yards per game allowed.
Yeah.
All that production on defense is gone. I do not see it with this Clemson team. Under 9 wins is even money at DraftKings. So if they go 9-3, you push. I don't think they even get to 8. So Clemson is my overrated team in the ACC this year.
I'll be honest. They're not my most overrated team, but I agree with you. I think that what needs to happen for Klubnik to take the jump, and nothing has happened. So
They don't have it.
There's nothing. Yes. So are we just going to sit here and say, oh, he'll do it because he's older? Like at least with DJU, you can say, oh, different situation. There's some hope. There really isn't here. Make sure I'm not going crazy. Am I correct when I saw no transfers? Am I correct?
Dabo Sweeney does not believe in the transfer portal. Big news, Dylan.
I am familiar with the name, image, and likeness of God, and that's plus points in my book. But on the football field, there's nothing changing for Klubnik, and that's what matters. And you spoke about the defense. That's the one thing that they had going really well for them last year. They lost a lot of that. They forced over 2 turnovers a game last year, but a lot of that's gone, and they haven't replenished it. So I agree with you. I don't think Clemson's going to be that great.
Yeah, I don't mean to be this guy, Mr. Agree with everything, but you guys hit everything. I agree 100% across the board. I don't see it. I really don't. And you look at Clemson's schedule, the first 5 weeks are pretty brutal. They got to play Georgia and Atlanta.
Yes.
They got to play App State. Not a great App State team, but that's a game you just can't overlook completely. Then you got to play NC State, and then you got to play Stanford. That's a win. Nice little bye week there for you. And then you got to play Florida State. There's a real shot they're 2-3 coming out of that schedule.
100%. I think their win total under is one of my best bets on the whole episode right here.
And if they go 2-3, then no matter what, the rest of the season, at worst, you push.
Right.
I'm also seeing 2 back-to-back stints where they have 2 away games back-to-back. That happens twice, and I just looking at the schedule, I don't really see that for anybody else. And no matter, I understand it. The first one's Florida State, Wake Forest. The next one's Virginia Tech, Pitt. The Virginia Tech Pitt, I don't think is going to be that tough, but still having to
At
go
VT.
Blacksburg's tough.
You have to enlighten me. They're Enter Sandman, right?
Yes.
Yeah, at VT. I mean, depending if it's a night game, that could be a hard game.
Well, that even further proves the point.
That's what I'm saying.
They're the only ones that only one team that I see that will have to do back-to-back away games twice, and that's not fun, no matter who you're playing. Ben,
Virginia Tech, though, something to remember is I feel like Virginia Tech, you have the Enter Sandman. I'm being a hater a little bit right now, but Enter Sandman sick, right? Big Saturday night game. You're like, oh man, this is electric. When do they ever win that game, though?
Yeah, true.
They never win that game. Never. They never do.
Unless it's then it's the first game back from COVID and Sam Howell is overrated as all get out.
I knew it was coming.
They do lose
That's
that game, or they didn't win that game. So that was
I don't know.
awful.
That
Carolina
game in
sucked.
VT like that just screams Klubnik gets sacked 8 times and Clemson is going under. This offensive line last year, 84th in sacks allowed, almost 2.5 a game. Like Dylan said, no transfers. They didn't get any better. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Clemson. I don't know where the wins come from.
they also have a rivalry game against South Carolina to close the season. So,
never a gimme. Never a gimme.
Yeah, that's never a gimme either. So I agree with you. I worry about Clemson too. Dylan, anything else on Clemson before we move on?
Does anybody want to hit us with Coach Sweeney got that drip?
I'll let you do that one, Dylan.
Hickory dickory dock, the mouse went up the clock. Coach Sweeney got that drip, and now I'm on TikTok.
Everybody
7 wins.
7 wins.
That was great.
Okay. Clemson versus FCS East. Who's winning? I think I'm taking FCS East money line.
Depends on that crowd meter.
What if they play the Pandas?
Pandas are no joke. All right, let's do underrated, overrated. Let's start off. Let's do our overrated team. Connor, you kind of kick things off with Clemson. Anything you want to add to that?
No, pretty much everything I hit on. I think the losses, Clemson, Georgia. I think they lose to Georgia, NC State, Florida State, and I think they have one dumb loss in there to either UVA, Louisville, or Pitt. Just one ridiculous loss that they shouldn't have. And all of a sudden, you're at 4 losses right there. I think they are the most overrated team, and this win total is a product of past production and their prime and being in the ACC. Like, they're one of the top 2 superpowers in the ACC, and that's a given. I think that number's off. So Clemson, most overrated team for me.
I'll piggyback. I'm going to go with Clemson as well. It was between Clemson and Florida State. I can get into my Florida State stuff in a minute if we want, but everything Connor mentioned, overrated Clemson, that's my team. Dylan.
Clemson's a good one. And going through the team that I had, I probably should have Clemson. I put NC State. I know they're getting Grayson McCall. I understand that he put up great numbers at Coastal Carolina. You do have a question mark. I believe he injured his head at the end of last season. That's why I missed the games. Are we really putting the faith in Grayson McCall to bring NC State back to, I don't even want to say what it was. Obviously lost Brennan Armstrong. They're
target to what?
Oh,
yeah,
I was
exactly.
Okay. That's the worst pick, Dylan. NC State is not overrated. This team is for real.
I don't even want to say for real.
Can you talk to me a little bit? Can you talk to me?
Okay, let's sit here. What happened to NC State last season? What was their final record? What did they finish with? In the regular season, they lost their bowl game to K-State.
8-4.
I don't care about
or 9-3. 9-3.
9-3. They went 9-3 with Brennan Armstrong, who got benched for MJ Morris, who played 4 games and said, "Hell no, I'm out of here.
I'm out.
I'm sitting out. I'm not doing this anymore." So they had to bring back Brennan Armstrong, and they still won 9 games. Okay, you say that. Okay, cool. Was Brennan Armstrong great?
No, he wasn't.
But then you go, oh, okay, well, who are their running backs? They have star running backs. Their leading rusher was Brennan Armstrong with 665 rushing yards. Hey, Dylan, who was their second leading rusher?
Probably that
MJ
other quarterback.
Morris.
No.
Damn.
Wide receiver Kevin Concepcion was their second leading rusher with 330 yards. Their third leading rusher was their starting running back. That's how bad it was. They bring in Grayson McCall. They bring in Jordan Waters from Duke, who's a fantastic running back, ran for over 800 yards and 12 touchdowns. This team is different. Now, the holes, Dylan, the issue where you can poke holes in NC State, they lose Peyton Wilson, elite linebacker in college football. They lose some guys on defense. They keep some guys. They brought in some transfer guys, guy from Ohio State safety. They also they have White, the corner. He's fantastic, all ACC. I don't see a world where they're worse than last season. I don't know how they got worse, and their schedule is a cakewalk. Other than Tennessee and Charlotte, it's a cakewalk of a schedule. They don't have to play Miami. I don't even think they have to play Florida State, if I remember correctly.
The schedule stat I wrote down, there's only one game, which is Clemson, against the top 7 teams in the ACC projected.
Yeah.
Against the projected top 7 teams, they have one of those teams on the schedule. It's a cakewalk. I think it's a cakewalk. Over 8.5 wins is a little juiced at -130. Favorite bet on the board. One of my favorite bets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And NC State, even losing some production on the defensive end, there's certain schools that I just have a trust that even if they lose some guys,
so true.
It's still a well-oiled machine. They're going to figure it out. They're going to be fine. I'm not saying that NC State's going to have this elite defense, but I think it's going to be solid, at least top half of the ACC still. And I just can't understate how much I love. He is one of the most underrated offensive coordinators in the game. I think Robert Anae is a fantastic play caller, fantastic play designer. Just from his time at Virginia, he created some absolutely just insane offenses. So if they're able to kind of like find something there with Grayson McCall, I do think this is a really good team, or at least a team that's winning 9-ish games.
And if you watch that NC State team, that offense last year was awful for the most part. And now they've got dudes all over the place on that offense. Also, to your point where you're like, NC State, I trust they're just going to have a good defense. That's who they are. It's like
I wrote
Iowa
that down
with the tight end. You're like, Iowa lose a tight end. Another dude's coming in. Some farm kid from, the Midwest is going to come in and get 1,200 yards this year. It's going to happen. So he's going to be a top 10, top 15 pick.
You guys have shredded this take to pieces. You've shredded me to pieces.
Great start.
That just means I have to double down on it. NC State might only win 5 games. Here's what I'm going to hang my hat on. In all seriousness, I should have put Clemson. I don't know why I was doing my notes and I didn't put Clemson for most overrated, but I do think, Grayson McCall with the head injury, you do run the risk if they're too cautious. If he gets hit and Grayson McCall's out, then who you got? So that's what I'm going to hang my hat on, and I will with a little asterisk up at the top of this little clip that we have. Should have been Clemson.
Okay,
fair.
All right, there we go. Should have been Clemson.
I can't believe I'm defending NC State here, but Grayson McCall, I know it's Coastal Carolina, not really a Power 5 school like that. He only had, in his 3 full seasons as a starter, 3 and 2 picks in his 3 full years as a starter. It wasn't great his last year, the games he actually played, but I think the talent's there. I want to say this. Since 2017, NC State, every single year except one, has had either 8 or 9 wins. The most consistent 8 or 9 wins in college football. Genuinely shocking. I think the O-line's going to be great. They're returning all 4 starters and then a transfer from Indiana, or Notre Dame, excuse me. Great O-line. Last 1,000-yard rush was Nyheim Hines in 2017. I think Jordan Waters has a chance this year. I think this team's going to be really good. I really do. And funny enough, guys, one of the bullet points I wrote down, word for word, I weirdly have faith that the NC State defense will figure it out. That was one of the bullet points I have. I don't know what it is. It's just like a gut feeling, and that hurts as a Carolina guy. But they're going to be good this year. I really do think so.
And Waters ran for over 800 yards splitting carries.
Yeah.
Duke. It's scary what they've got going on at NC State. Ben, overrated team.
Man, I think
you
guys are really
down.
No, you guys are really zigging and I'm zagging. I've got Miami.
What?
Oh. Dylan, what I did to NC State's your turn now.
Well, I want to hear him out. Hear him out.
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair, it's case by case whether someone's over. That doesn't mean that Miami's going to win 6 games, but I do feel like although they have this talent, I don't trust Miami to not drop a couple of 1 to 2 really bad ones. They always have that in them. And so I know we can look at the production, we can look at the stats. That's something I usually do. But as an ACC fan my entire life, there's some things that just remain true throughout time. And Miami being more talented than almost everyone in the conference, but just crapping their pants 2 games of the year against teams that they should win, that always exists. It's always hard because they're not a team that's going to have a strong home field advantage either. No one down there cares. So it's not, you don't have just this feeling of, okay, yeah, no, they do, but just the residents of Miami, Florida do not. So you're not having the benefit of being a Virginia Tech or a Florida State or even a Clemson where they have to come in and play us in our place, and that's going to be hard for them. It's not hard to go play at Miami. I think that hurts. I think this is a 9-win Miami team that finishes 3rd or 4th in the conference, and that's with how much you guys like them, that makes them, in my mind, overrated.
Dylan.
Ben, you and I am very excited for this football season because just from what you're telling me about Miami, and Karter and Connor can attest to this, I boil it down to
penalty yards.
Does a team have dog? Does a team not have dog? And there's nothing I can't stand more than the conversation about, oh, a team always does X, so it's going to keep happening. Oh, this guy has the dog in him, so he's got that dog factor. And like you said you mostly base it in stats for the most part. Saying that Miami always finds a way to drop this 1 or 2 games, to me, means nothing. I do not think that is a good predictor for how things are going to go in the future. And if that's the only thing you're hanging your hat on, I think that's fine. That's fair. You have a point. But it is also very hard for anybody to ever refute that. Like, yeah, they lost. Last year they lost to Georgia Tech.
The crazy
They nailed the ball out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that happened. I can't sit here and say, oh, they're not going to drop those games. But we're going to get along this football season. This is going to be a fun season.
Well, I want to make it very clear that I'm usually not that guy. I just can't shake it with Miami.
You're not that guy.
Like I was on the Texas train last year. I loved Texas. I was like, okay, no, I think Texas is back. So I want to make it clear that like I'm not going to be spending this entire football season being like, well, X won't happen because it doesn't. But like with Miami,
you could
I'm
make it
doing
a bit.
that. I'm doing that.
I guess we'll find out. There's a lot of football left to be talked about. There's a lot of football left. So
just wait.
I'm willing to hop off this take. Like this is one of those takes where I'm not gonna just like go down with the ship. I'm not. If I watch them and I'm like, okay, like they have it, like they're like the production's there, they're winning a big game at Florida, which I think they do. But if they win that in convincing fashion, it's going to be pretty easy to get me on board. And Mario Cristobal concerns me. Like he does, as just these late game situations, tight games against other good teams in the conference or just good teams in general. You just can't have what happened last year against Georgia Tech happen again. You just can't.
Can we entertain the thought, maybe you learn from your mistakes. Maybe you learn from that. And instead of being a negative thing, it's a positive thing. And also, you said, you could reel it back. They come out and win the first 3 or 4 games convincingly. Based on your point, that shouldn't matter because Cristobal and Miami are just going to blow it anyways, no matter how good they look.
Fair rebuttal.
We're
fair
back,
rebuttal.
baby.
Yeah.
We're back in football season.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, before we move on to underrated, I'm going to go really quickly. I'm going to change my Clemson pick. I'm going to go to Florida State. I'll be very brief here. I think Florida State is overrated because when you talk about they're rated, they're supposed to win the conference. They're the favorite to win the conference. I think that's too much hype. I don't see them in the ACC title game this year. I think DJU he lowers their ceiling by so much. And I think Jordan Travis showed so much last year, and I think he did a lot that people don't realize. He was a phenomenal quarterback. I really think that's just the difference. It's poor analysis when you could go through the defense, go through the O-line. The team is phenomenal around it. I've watched so much DJU in my time. I've been bought in. I've been burned, and I'm not going to get burned again. DJU, I can't stand them. FSU's my overrated team. I'm switching from Clemson. Also, then we have 4 different teams on the graphic. It's going to look great. Anyhow, let's move on. Underrated team. Dylan, you have yours. You start.
Connor, did you have something before?
I was just going to real quick on Florida State. I was going to say Karter. I think it's a fine pick. I think they lose to Notre Dame. I think they lose to Miami. And I think they drop a stupid one early in the year, maybe to like Boston College. So
or maybe
I like
Florida
that.
At the end of the year. And like, typically it doesn't happen in college football where you fire a coach midseason. Sometimes it just depends. Couldn't that Florida game be an interim coach game from Florida if Billy Napier's gone? And then all of a sudden they play Florida State in a rivalry game and they've got nothing to gain. Yeah. And they just beat Florida State. Who knows?
That's fair.
Underrated team.
Connor, who is that? You said that Florida State could drop a fluke game.
No,
to?
There's no way. There's no way, Dylan. There's no way.
What was that team? Can you say
it's the same team I have written down? It's the same team I've written down. So please go ahead.
Boston College, baby. I was looking at this team. National championship aspirations, no. Winning the conference aspirations, probably not. But 4.5 wins. I mean, just looking at what this team can put out there offensively, when you're looking for a team that is bad or maybe rated poorly and you want them to exceed expectations, pull off an upset, you want teams that I hate. Great offense, no defense. They wide. Here we go. They widen the bell-shaped curve. The range of possibilities goes from a normal bell-shaped curve, and it widens it like this. So we're looking at Boston College. We have Thomas Castellanos. He's coming back this year. Decent arm, runs the ball extremely well. Had over 1,000 rushing yards. I have it right here. 13 touchdowns. Great offensive line. They're going to be able to protect him. I think they had the 11th or 12th best pass block grade via PFF last year. Returning their center, returning offensive tackle, returning offensive guard. I am so high on this Boston College team in terms of 4.5 wins or so. I mean, I'm thinking 6 or 7 wins. And, sneaky upset, Florida State week 2. I think they're more than capable of doing that. Look, my hair, I got so excited, all my hair went crazy on me.
I love that. I love it. Bill O'Brien coming in. You didn't even mention that. You didn't even mention Bill O'Brien coming in. I love it. I love it, Connor.
Yeah, so I'm going to piggyback off that. I agree with you, Dylan. Funny enough, I promised to all the listeners out there, we did not discuss this before the show started at all. My most underrated team of this conference is Boston College. I think it's for all the reasons you laid out. I think Thomas Castellanos is going to be a junior this year. He's an electric guy. Way too many mistakes last year. 14 picks compared to 15 touchdowns last year. A lot of mistakes, a lot of young, but at least he was trying to make plays. A lot of them were like, let's make a play down the field. Let's chuck one, whatever. Those are the kind of mistakes I can live with. Running the ball last year, to have over 1,000 yards as a quarterback and 13 rushing touchdowns, he torched SMU in the bowl game. ACC newcomer SMU. Torched them. 156 on the ground, 2 scores. O-line should be very good. There's the 3 returners you mentioned. They might be all ACC. A lot of these polls I'm seeing and stuff like 3 Boston College offensive linemen are on those all ACC lists. That's potential to be there. Veteran defense. All 11 projected starters are either juniors or seniors on that defense. A lot of penalty yards last year. Hopefully that's rectified this year with all that experience. And finally, 4.5 wins is a little juiced at -150. You can get over 5 wins at DK at +110. So if they go 5-7, you push. I love that.
I also want to say lots of offensive penalty yards, but defensively pretty disciplined. I think it was about under 50 defensive penalty yards per game. Yeah. So it's, defensively they're pretty honest there. I'm with you. Love them. Love Boston College.
Also, all you deep cut ACC fans out there like me, UNC tight end Kamari Morales, my former classmate, transferred to Boston College for his last year of eligibility. He's not bad. Not bad.
I didn't lose any anytime touchdowns on that guy.
We are back on first touchdown. But yeah, I love Boston College. They're the most underrated team for me too, Dylan.
I have no issues with it. Ben, do you?
No, I don't either. I do also like the roster. I do have concerns when, I think if you're a school like Boston College, you need to make the Bill O'Brien hire if he's going to come coach for you. But that is a concern of mine. I don't love Bill O'Brien. Just in the past, like when he was with Penn State, didn't love his offenses in the latter end of the Patriots era. Even when he was at Alabama, I didn't think that he was able to get as much out of those Alabama offenses towards the end as I thought he should have. That though, Alabama's talent level on the offensive end, there's been issues there the last couple of years in terms of being to the level they are usually at, which is better than everybody else. So I guess if there is a pushback, it's that. But I do like Boston College as a sneaky make a bowl kind of team.
They're going to ruin somebody's season. They're going to ruin somebody.
For sure. I think they could easily be a team that kind of disappoints, and then they put it together against
Go ahead, say UNC. This is the perfect type of quarterback that just torches us.
It is.
Yeah, and also with that, I feel like they're going to be in a lot of close games and just barely lose. They're going to be competitive in a lot of games.
Cover. That's what matters.
Yeah.
Cover.
They're a cover team.
They're like a +6.5 team where you're like, I love that, and they lose by 3, and you're like, okay.
Week 1
Dylan,
parlay.
Don't buy the half point. Don't you dare buy that half point, Dylan.
Nope.
Make
don't
it +7.
do it. Negative EV.
Ben, underrated team.
My underrated team, I love SMU.
I agree with you, Ben.
I love Preston Stone. I think he's someone who can just really sling it. This is a team that's going to be, if nothing else, even if they don't win as many games as I'm expecting them to, I think they're a team that's at least really fun and you don't want to play because they're going to force you. They're going to force you to get into shootouts. And I think some of these teams, especially, I just think they're a team that could beat teams that are more talented than them because I think they've got a great offense and I think the defense is good enough. But if they're playing, a high-powered offense, they're going to struggle, and they're just going to put it in Preston Stone's hands and say, win the game. And I think there's a decent amount of these games that they're going to win 45-42.
That's what,
38-35.
Every single game's going to be played in the 30s. This SMU team feels a lot similar to not last year, but the year before Drake May Carolina team, where it was that team couldn't guard anybody. They gave up 60+ to Appalachian State. Like I feel
didn't
like
matter.
that's
They won, but they scored 63.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's going to be fun football. Their over-unders, like if we somehow get an SMU versus Ole Miss game, I feel like that game is one Dylan and I are arguing where I'm like, it's a legacy pick. I have to pick over 86.5.
Yeah, perfect.
And then first quarter, it's 3-0. I'm like, F me.
Yeah, that's
SMU,
dead.
I don't hate that pick. I worry about the defense, though, because it's just they're going to have to outscore. I like your pick because I don't know if they're overrated, underrated based on the win total and what they're projected, but I think they're underrated because people aren't talking about how fun they're going to be in this conference.
Or just because they're SMU in the ACC.
Yeah,
like,
true.
I think the fact that it's that, like, if you're a casual fan, you're not expecting SMU to win 8-9 games. But if you're paying attention to it and looking at it, like, they really could.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Real quick, speaking of bringing bits back, we have breaking news. Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans have signed Quandre Diggs, and him and Jamal Adams are reunited in Tennessee. Round of applause for the front office.
All right.
Thank you, Ben.
They know what they're doing.
Lions legend Quandre Diggs.
There we go, baby. We're back.
Yeah.
I do have serious notes about SMU, though. The defense is obviously a problem. They play very aggressive defense. They led the American Conference in defensive penalty yards. So it's kind of like, you risk the defensive pass interference to play more aggressive coverage. Win some, lose some there. But I'm high on them, too. Like you said, Preston Stone, I think, is going to be great. Obviously, there's a bit of a question mark jumping conferences. I think naturally there's probably a jumping competition, but we'll talk conference winners later. Spoiler alert, maybe.
Okay,
maybe
fair. Can I have a spiel real quick? I like SMU. Everything I wrote down points me to a positive direction for SMU. You guys talking about Preston Stone, top 7 targets from last year back, top 3 rushers from last year back. O-line only allowed 1.14 sacks a game last year, top 16 in the country. Defense, second in the nation in sacks. 10 of the top 11 tacklers are back. Only allowed 18 points a game last year. Here's the thing. All that being said, it is such a jump up from the American Conference to the ACC. You get into conference play, all of a sudden those gimme games in the American Conference, you're playing Louisville or Syracuse or Georgia Tech in the ACC. That is a big step up. So everything in me wants to bet SMU over 7.5 or over 8.5 or whatever. But the step up's too much. I'm going to have to wait a year to see how that talent translates. They're going to be exciting, but I don't know if that necessarily translates to wins. So I'm staying off.
And like you're saying, they played Boston College in the bowl game. Granted, that has an asterisk. I can't tell you off the top of my head who sat, who played. Lost to Boston College, lost to Oklahoma.
Cassiano shredded them.
Yes, it lost to TCU. The big name teams they played last year. That's very true.
Fair.
The big name teams they played last year, they did not fare well. Other than Tulane, they did beat a ranked Tulane at the end of the year. So if there is one point of concern, I would say it's there. Yeah, it's fair. You're fair.
Yeah. Anyhow, real quickly, so we can move things along. Underrated team. This is one that's not because I think they're going to win a lot of games, but Connor, we talk about this in the NBA. They're a league pass team.
Okay.
They're a league pass team.
Okay.
They're fun. They're stupid as all get out. I'm going with the Virginia Cavaliers, Ben. They're my underrated team.
You said stupid but fun. I said I know where he's going with this.
The Virginia Cavaliers you're going to turn on the CW. They're going to be the instead of this is a league pass team, this is the CW team. They're going to upset someone big this year, like they did against Carolina, 25.5-point underdogs. Shout out Dylan and I with the money line.
All-time moment.
Virginia, they're fun. Are they going to win 7-8 games? Probably not. They're probably going to go 6. I think 6-6 is a very real possibility for the Cavaliers. And I've been team Anthony Calandria since day one. I saw this guy and I was like, He is a Walmart version of Johnny Manziel. I love him. I cannot stop watching him. He throws the dumbest balls, but he also makes the most exciting plays. Every single snap is dangerous coming from this guy. I love it. It's so fun. Are they going to win a bunch of games? No, but I'm in on this Virginia team. And also, this is a save your job moment for Virginia, too, for Tony Elliott. So, anyhow.
Yeah.
Ben, back me up. Back me up here.
No. I'm going to back you up. The one thing, though, is although I agree with you on all those points, I think they're going to win games even if this happens. But I just want to set you up for a world in which they might just name Tony Muskett the starter.
This podcast is a Tony Muskett hater podcast. Just want to let you know.
I know. I just want to say that. But here's the thing. Like, I know it's my team. So it's like, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. I do think Virginia, like, they can win some games with either of these quarterbacks. I think they can. They return their entire front seven on defense, along with their two safeties. But they weren't Jonas Sanker.
They weren't good.
But they were injured. They were injured.
Okay.
All right. There we go.
It's like, the Hornets are returning their top 7 bench guys from a team that went 20-62.
The best example of this is when the Sam Howell return year, and they're like, well, their offensive line, the entire unit returns. I was like, they were the worst offensive line in the country.
So true.
Also, I love Virginia's weapons.
Yeah, that's Chris Tyree. This cat, Kobe Pace. Malachi Field. Don't get me started on Virginia.
Andre Green, Tar Heels.
I was going to say Andre Green. That's a sleeper. That's a former 5-star guy from Richmond. Tony Elliott is getting guys to come home. Chris Tyree, Tyler Neville, who as a tight end for Harvard, got a lot of offers. Virginia won out against South Carolina. Like, they've got options. The concern is going to be guys holding up health-wise, offensive line. They return basically everyone on the offensive line, but man, that was a bad offensive line. Improved throughout the year last year, but I think it should be better. There's just a lot of continuity there. It's a tough schedule, though. That's the hard thing. It's not an easy schedule. Like, just at Coastal Carolina, just why?
They're favored in 2 of those games, maybe? Are they favored in 2 games all year? Maybe. That schedule was brutal when I was looking at it earlier.
Yeah, there's some though, because I like Virginia, because I like this team. Like, for example, they play Wake Forest. They should beat Wake Forest. They should.
But the spread's going to be 2.
So true.
Like, the spread's going to be like -2. But that's the thing. Like, but I do believe in this Virginia team. But I swear, if Tony Muskett is named the starter, I want Tony Elliott fired on the spot. We, as college football fans, my whole thing is, as a college football fan, as a BYU fan, if you're a fan of a team that does not have a shot at winning a national title, what is the point in putting out the boring starter? Put out the fun guy, lose some games, but at least be entertaining. What are we doing here? What are we doing? I will be livid, but we need to move on. We're going over time.
One last note on Virginia. Hurry. Ben, is this stat correct? They allowed 43 sacks and 8 tackles for loss per game last year. That is absurd. 8 tackles for loss a game.
It was bad. It was really, really bad.
Ranked 130 in PFF pass block rating last year.
And that's talking Virginia football.
They also will, you know this, Connor. This will be the last thing I say. They will beat UNC. It's just 100%. What happens.
It's going to be like 35-31. Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yep.
All right.
Mac Brown's House of Horrors.
Real quick, let's do consensus top 5 quarterbacks across the board.
Ooh.
Who's number 5 in your mind?
Number 5 in the conference, Thomas Castellanos for me.
What?
Can I put a disclaimer here? Nothing I say here can be used against me.
Okay, then what is it? Number 5.
Kyle McCord.
Ooh.
Are we putting him top 5?
24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, over 9 yards per attempt at Ohio State.
But
he got a bad rap.
He didn't. When the offense, when the coaches don't trust you and you're behind the best offense in the country, you're not a good quarterback. And he's going to Syracuse. But he's not going to have Marvin Harrison, Travion Henderson, and a phenomenal offensive line. And he's going into a new regime with a new
offensive line. Not that much better at Ohio State. Only about 20 rank better, I think. PFF pass block rating than Syracuse. Hey, I hear what you're saying. I hear it. But I think it's a coach issue up in Columbus. I don't think it's Kyle McCord issue.
Of course you do.
Shocking. I'm just saying.
100%. I believe it's a Kyle McCord issue. But Ben, who's your fifth?
I'm going with, due to like a lack of conviction I have on other guys, it's like I kind of have to default. I think it's Cade Klubnik.
I have Cade Klubnik at 5 too.
I didn't have him top 5.
He's not on my top 5.
Not on my top 5.
I just think I just trust that he's going to be like at least decent.
This is who we think is going to be the top 5.
Where some of these guys like Kyle McCord, that's intriguing. Like one that I really thought about like going to bat for Malik Murphy.
I was about to say, don't say it. Do not say it. Nope.
I thought about it, and then I was just like, I can't do it. Like I feel like Cade Klubnik will take a step up, and I'm not saying he's great. He'll be the 5th best quarterback in the ACC in my mind. But
you're saying Miami's going to drop a game because they have in the past, and then you're saying Cade Klubnik's going to take a step up, and we haven't seen anything.
He's returning.
That's it. He's coming back. he's wearing orange.
I'm with Cade Klubnik too. I got Cade Klubnik at 5.
I have Castellanos at 4. So if we want to revisit that,
talk to me, Dylan. Talk to me.
I have him at 4. I think he's going to be electric. I think he'll be a top quarterback. I think that it won't be his fault that Boston College is bad.
Connor, 4.
I had Kyle McCord 4. Same reasons as Dylan.
There we go. Look at us.
Funny enough, I don't want to be an apologist for him. I agree that a lot of it was his fault at Ohio State, but not as much as it came out to be. And he's playing in the ACC.
Good stats.
You know how much worse ACC defenses are?
If they have an average quarterback, they win. They are in the college football playoff. They are winning the Big Ten. If they have an average quarterback,
they're not beating Michigan. They wouldn't beat
Big Ten. I hate to say it, but these ACC defenses are going to be a complete step down.
I understand that,
but they are.
But he doesn't have Marvin Harrison Jr. He doesn't have Travion Henderson. He has a Syracuse running back, Syracuse wide receiver.
But he's not throwing against Will Johnson and Rod Moore.
Yeah,
it's different.
That's one game.
Take all of them. All of the defenses are that good.
Northwestern's defense is not that good.
It's better than
Purdue's defense.
Better than Virginia's defense. Who's going to be playing?
It's the same as the ACC.
No, it's
the
not.
same.
And at this point, the conversation stops. The conversation stops because you're not making sense.
We need to get this rolling. Ben, who's 4?
At 4, I'm going with Kyron Drones, as much as I hate to say it, from Virginia Tech.
Can't do it.
Why not? Why can't you do it?
I haven't seen enough. Haven't seen enough from him.
All right.
How about that?
Right.
I'm just kidding. Right. Honestly, he would probably be like 6 on my list. I honestly don't hate that pick at all. I think there's a lot of potential there, especially on this ground game. I think he can pick that up a lot. He's kind of built like an interior like D lineman or something. Like he's huge.
He's a big dude.
I think the potential's there. I actually don't hate that pick at all. I think he could be good.
I have Drones at 4 too. Just spoiler alert. I have Drones at 4. I 100% agree. Dylan, 3.
Grayson McCall. I think if he stays healthy, he will be a top quarterback in this conference. We've seen the stats. 88 touchdowns, I think, in his career. Very impressive stuff. Grayson McCall, 3.
Connor.
I hesitate to say this because this could crash and burn, but I've got DJU at 3. Above McCord, above Castellanos, above Drones, above Malik Murphy, all those guys. I've got him at 3. I think
Malik
there is
Murphy's
a world.
Not even in my top 10.
No.
Yeah, me either. But I think there's a world where DJU, there's a ceiling. There's a world where he actually plays pretty well this year. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I think his potential is top 3 quarterback in this conference.
Oh, I don't agree, but Ben.
It scares me.
Grayson McCall. I like his coordinator. I like the run game that they're going to have. I like his defense. I just think he's in a situation kind of like Kyron Drones. Like, I think they're both in situations in which they're going to succeed.
I have
largely because of the guys around them. That's what I think.
I have Preston Stone at 3.
Ooh, that's a good. I don't hate that. He's not my top 5, but I don't hate
the
that.
Conference jump. I couldn't do the conference jump. That's the only thing.
I got Stone at 3. 2, Dylan.
DJU. Great situation. I got DJU.
Has anybody watched DJU play football? I feel like I'm talking to a block of marble. This guy is not a good quarterback.
Clip it.
How is he the second-ranked quarterback in this
Karter
conference?
playing the clip game. Picked up right
Hey,
where he
he's
left off.
6'4". 6'4", big
6'4".
frame.
He's returning. He's returning
Guess
to the
what?
ACC.
Connor's 6'6". Should he play starting quarterback?
Wait till you see number 1 on my list. It's Connor Sparrow.
Yeah. There we go. All right. We got to keep this rolling. Connor, you're up.
Yep.
2.
Grayson McCall here too. All the reasons I said for NC State. I know it's a jump. Same thing with Preston Stone from Coastal to NC State, but I think the numbers are too good. I've seen a lot from him, especially in the year before last when he started a full season and the team around him. I love Grayson McCall this year as a Wolfpack, so he's number 2.
Ben.
Preston Stone.
Yeah, I don't hate
I think
it.
he's gonna put up numbers. I think he's gonna be good.
Yeah, I agree. 2, I have McCall.
Okay.
Too.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
So we've all
no debate about it. And then Cam Ward all at 1. I think
1.
we can
Yeah.
sim to the end of this.
Yeah,
So this
think
is a consensus. How are we figuring this out? How are you ironing this out?
I don't know. We might
We'll
have
figure
to
it out.
that
We'll
out.
figure it out
the
off air. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be an off-air thing. And then I was gonna do best player. I'm assuming we're all saying Cam Ward, right?
I'm saying Cam Ward.
That's what I wrote down as well. It's boring, but it's the right answer.
I think so too. Favorite bet?
I'll start
Dylan.
Boston College over 4.5 wins. I see probably 6.
Connor.
So that would be mine. Boston College over 4.5. I'll switch it up. I'm going Clemson under 9 wins. Under 9 wins
9.
is like even money.
Ben.
Karter already went over this, but I've got UVA winning more than 4.5.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
All right. There we go. I don't hate it at all. Yeah, this is the easiest one on the board. It's my favorite bet in all of college football. This is my Kansas pick of this year, since he stayed over 8.5. I don't see a world where they don't win 9 games. I don't see a world where they don't win 10 games, to be honest. I think unless McCall gets hurt. That's the only caveat there. All right,
for the record, for the graphic, I want to do Clemson under 9.5. If we're taking because Dylan's pick is like minus 150, so I'm gonna go Clemson.
Mine's
under 9.5.
minus 152, I think.
Okay, Clemson under 9.5 is my pick. Then I think that's a lock.
Okay. And then conference winner. Give me the conference title game. Give me the conference title game and the winner, Dylan.
Off the top of my head, I had 2 teams written down. I have Miami to win and SMU to win, so I'll go both those teams. Miami, SMU.
Who's winning it?
We'll go Miami.
Miami to win it. Okay, Connor.
I'm going Miami over NC State in the title game. That's my pick.
Ben.
Wow.
I'm going Florida State over Clemson.
That just stabbed a dagger through my heart, Ben. I want you to know that.
That's someone that's just
Actually,
no. Time out. That's someone that's watched way too much ACC football and's like, it's just the things it's just how things go around these parts, down here. In
Chris
Miami.
No.
Here's the thing. No, I actually want to switch it. I want to switch it.
SMU.
No. I'm going Clemson. I'm going with it. This is my. I'll go Clemson over Florida State, and with the caveat that Dabo Swinney, this is the last time. This is the last time I'm going to bat for you. Because I think Clemson football reminds me too much of what Virginia basketball has become, but football version. And I'm like trying to if Clemson can do it, Virginia can do it again. That's
okay. I love that. Actually.
Okay.
I love that actually.
Fair.
Clemson.
I've got Miami in the title game, but I got NC State winning it all. I got NC State as the conference winner. I love the NC State Wolfpack. It's the year of the Wolfpack. The folks in China are saying it's the year of the Wolfpack. Actually,
There's no way. There's no way they're saying that.
China.
Anyhow, anything else before we go? I was going to do a nice little ACC in 90 seconds thing where I was going to run through the rest of the teams we didn't talk about.
Real quick, can we do like a couple other bets, or you want to save that till the end?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
All right, a couple other bets I had. State over 8.5, like you said. Miami over 9 wins, minus 125 on DraftKings. Love that because if they go 9-3 push. UNC, sneaky enough, after doing the research, guys, this is not a homer pick. Over 7.5. I see them getting 8 wins. I think 8-4 is very realistic for a Carolina team. Georgia Tech under 5. Boston College, obviously love them. And then Duke under 5.5 is the other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Duke's a year away.
Can I throw a couple things in?
Go for it.
Louisville fans are furious. We haven't mentioned them.
Yeah. Louisville.
I think they're pretty good. Like, no, I think they're like a solid 8 to 9 win team. Yep. I think Virginia Tech, especially because of their schedule, as much as I hate to say it, are an 8-9 win team. I feel like those are the 2 teams that over the course of this pod we haven't mentioned that I also think are like in the mix of that top 7-ish teams.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech is that media darling right now where everyone's like, they're trying to be edgy and they're like, Virginia Tech to win the ACC. And you're like, nah, like not quite.
No.
I think they're 8-4.
They'll win 8-4. Same with Louisville. Louisville could get to 9-3 just because I do think Jeff Brom's a great coach.
But Tyler Schuff, whatever the hell his last name is, Texas Tech, Oregon quarterback, gambling graveyard for him. He was the quarterback that threw the pick six that ruined the podcast parlay last year.
I think I was there. I was with you.
Yep.
Yeah. Remember that.
Graveyard. Well, I will remember that name to the day I die.
Was that last year?
Karter.
That is why Louisville was not mentioned in this podcast.
Well, have you guys seen his injury history? Broken collarbone 21 and 22, and then broken fibula last year. I don't even think this guy stays on the field, as much as I hate to say it.
And watching that game, he was taking horrible hits against Oregon.
And Louisville's O-line, not awesome, be honest.
No, Tech had a top 15 pass block rating last year for their offensive line, and he still only averaged like 6.5 yards per attempt. The show acquisition was not much, didn't do much for me. I'm not as high on Louisville as you guys are.
Yeah, no, I agree with Ben. Brom is such a phenomenal coach. He's one of those, like, it's almost like a Dave Doran type where you're like, this team's not great, but how did they win 7 games? 8 games? How did that happen at the end of the year?
Defense won't be bad. I will say that.
Yeah, and so that's what will keep them in games. Wake Forest, not a huge fan of. Hank Bachmeier, they're going to have a rough year. Duke, I know, Duke basketball. Yeah, look, guys, I'm not a Duke football fan. I'll be honest with you, but I do pay attention to Duke football pretty close.
That's convenient.
Well, BYU.
He loves the Lakers too.
Yeah, I like the Yankees too. Duke football.
Karter,
people like to talk about Malik Murphy coming in, this big Texas quarterback coming in. There's a reason he went to Duke. There's a reason Malik Murphy ended up at Duke, and he's not at Ohio State, and he's not at one of these other places that needed a transfer quarterback like Oregon. There's a reason. It's because he's not that good. He's not. He struggled at Texas. The team around Texas was so good, they were able to subside. They were able to get by while Ewers was out last year. Murphy almost put them in some bad spots. He throws a crap ball. And he's also really slow. He's huge. He's a giant quarterback. But I am not a huge fan. I think, like you mentioned, Connor, the Manny Diaz era, I think it's a year away. I think it's growing pains year 1. I wouldn't be surprised if you said they were 3-9, 4-8 this year.
They lost all 9 linemen too. All 5 on the offensive line, all 4 on the defensive line.
All weapons except for Moore and a receiver gone.
You're away.
I want to draw this graphic real quick. Maybe we can make this into something. I think you have like Malik Murphy and DJU kind of on the same level as like, what have you seen from them? Are they even that good? You could maybe say no, except DJU goes up here to going to a team with a good system, and Malik Murphy's going down. That's kind of how I
think there's more. There's more evidence that DJU isn't doing it, though. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
there's
Malik
definitely
Murphy,
more.
like we haven't,
more to go off of.
There's more.
We haven't seen as much, and like I do have like it is hard because I agree with everything you guys are saying, but you give me a quarterback who has any degree of athleticism, 6'4", 6'5", 235 plus pounds. Yeah, I know, but like you give me like a 6'5" quarterback with like abs, and I'm like, there's something there.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, that's
there's something there. He can't throw, but you're like, I don't know. Like that's where you throw out like, remember it was a big thing in like 24. Just be like, I don't know. You could be the next Cam Newton because he's like a guy who's 6'5" and plays quarterback. I still like that's stuck in my head a little bit. Drones even a little bit too.
We just need you to say, I like a quarterback with abs so we can throw it on a quote card.
I like a quarterback with abs.
There we go.
There we go. Clip it.
Yeah.
I think that, Ben, is they're like, that's like the cousin of if you have a good-looking offensive coordinator that's young, you're like, oh, this guy gets it. Like he's
from the McVay tree.
Yeah. Like Dave Canales, like the guy's going to end up doing no
He's a
wrong.
Guru. He's an offensive guru.
Ahead of his time.
And you need an ugly fat guy who hasn't shaved in months to be the defensive coordinator. You're like, that guy gets it.
I'm going to go through the entire conference right now, and I'm going to give my records for each one. Afterwards, you can say if you hate one of them or don't like one of them, and then we can probably get out of here. So real quick, I'll start the timer starting Now, Miami, Cam Ward, Damian Martinez are there. I'm going Miami 11-1. They're going to lose in the ACC title game. FSU, I don't like DJU. I don't know why we all of a sudden believe DJU is going to be this great quarterback all of a sudden. I got FSU going 9-3. A little bit of a disappointment. I could see maybe 10-2, but who knows? Clemson, Cade Klubnik. Look, they're going to be kind of the same, 8-4 for Clemson. NC State, I love NC State. Grayson McCall, Jordan Waters, a completely changed team. Meanwhile, they just got so much better, and they have the same win total. I have ACC winning the ACC conference. NC State winning the ACC. They're going 10-2, going to beat Miami
plus 700
title game. Yeah, plus 700. I love it. SMU, they're going to go 7-5. Conference jump's going to be tough going into Power 5, Power 4 football, but they're going to play a lot of games in the 30s. Louisville, 7-5, 8-4, good defense, like Jeff Brom. Don't like their quarterback gambling graveyard. Virginia Tech, media darling, 8-4, drones. Syracuse, I hate Kyle McCord. I think Kyle McCord's a crappy quarterback. 6-6, barely make a bowl game that I end up losing money on in December. UNC, I think they're starting the wrong quarterback. Connor Harrell's the guy at UNC. They need to run that rushing game. They need to copy what Virginia Tech's doing, have Harrell and Hampton running the show. I love UNC. If they do that, we'll see. Heels going 7-5. Cal, 7-5. Not much more to say. Pitt, I do not like Pitt whatsoever this season. 4-8 for Pitt. Duke, like I mentioned, Malik Murphy, not a big fan. Diaz 1 year away. 5-7, 4-8 for Duke, maybe even 3-9. Let's go 4-8 for Duke. Georgia Tech, same thing, 6-6 this year. BC, 6-6. I like a lot what's going on. This is a program building year for Bill O'Brien. Virginia, 6-6 as well. I love Anthony Colandrea for Heisman. Wake, 4-8. I'm worried about Hank Bachmeier at Wake. And Stanford, they're going to stink. Ashton Daniels, I love their receiver, but I don't like Ashton Daniels. That team's going to stink. No home field advantage. Got to travel a bunch. 3-9 for the Cardinal. Any qualms?
That was good.
That was pretty good.
Not a qualm, really. But I'm with you on North Carolina as far as like Connor Harrell might be seeing the field Carolina, week 3. Really. Yeah, week 3, week 4, if Max Johnson sucks and he's throwing like 8 picks in 5 games, don't be surprised to see Connor Harrell out there. They took both quarterbacks to media day. Took 5 players, 2 of them were quarterbacks. That's never happened.
They're starting the wrong quarterback at Carolina. Max Johnson.
They're going to be
calling for it's. They play Minnesota week 1, right?
Yeah, Minnesota, and that's tough.
Yeah, and after that game, they're going to be like, yeah, Harrell's the guy.
Gambling when they play. If they somehow beat Minnesota, hammer James Madison money line. They are losing one of those games. If Carolina beats Minnesota, you bet James Madison immediately.
Hampton Harrell would be just such a dynamic duo. I'm a big fan of Connor Harrell. Big fan.
Harrell's going to be good, and Amari and Hampton is quietly. He was 5th most rushing yards in the country last year behind a garbage offensive line. They'll be a little bit better this year. They're all returning, but they will be a little bit better this year.
Yeah, that's a great way.
Hampton's a stud. Hampton's a stud.
I think the best news for a team like North Carolina is that we didn't really mention them on this podcast. Like, I think that bodes well. That bodes well for them because expectations are modest. They're still like, you're right, like 7-8 wins. But like, I just think where Carolina gets in trouble is when we're talking 10-11 wins. Yeah, that's when I feel uncomfortable about it. And that's why I feel a little uncomfortable with the Miami hype, though I see everything you guys see. I just had to kind of be the wet blanket on that. I had to. Someone had to do it.
Carolina, 6 of their 8 ACC games, they are against teams projected to finish lower than UNC. I will say that. Their schedule is not that bad.
Their schedule stinks.
The bottom, they are playing the bottom of the barrel in the ACC. There's no cross-country trips to Stanford or Cal. I sneaky like them to go over 7.5.
All right. I love it. Anything else before we wrap up here? That was a great show.
We're back. That was fun. That was fun.
Dylan, that was a good one.
Dylan, I know you'll love this. Boston College to make the ACC title game plus 6,000. Just saying.
I'll take it. I'll give it all to me. Feed it to me on a platter.
I can't believe we both had Boston College. That's awesome.
Dylan,
this is great.
Michigan to have their national title vacated. I'm kidding. We can't have it vacated.
Oh.
Hey, the bet's
he's not there anymore.
Already. Hey, and also the bet's cashed already. You can't take it out. It's already
can't take my money.
Like, it's already spent, probably, for being honest.
Oh yeah. Oh shoot. Big Ten, baby.
Anyhow, all right, that's it from us. Make sure to follow us all on Twitter at KarterKast on everything. SeatGeek, use code KarterKast, $20 off your first purchase. We'll be back. We got 3 more previews to go, and then we'll do an overall college football preview. We got NFL's preview. We're locked in. It's time, baby. It's full season. Let's do
strap in.
I'm so excited. Anyhow, make sure to subscribe, rate, review. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.